The day my parents told me they were getting a divorce was the day my world split in two. I was 16, sitting at the kitchen table in our house in Naperville, Illinois, when Dad set down his coffee mug and said the words that changed everything. "Ethan, your mom and I are separating." Mom's eyes were already swollen from crying. She reached across the table but stopped short, like she didn't know how to touch me anymore. "It's for the best, honey. We'll make it work for you." I stared at the half-eaten lasagna on my plate, the cheese congealing into something cold and heavy. My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. They had been fighting for months. Quiet, bitter fights behind closed doors that I pretended not to hear. But hearing it out loud made it real. At 16, I was already carrying a secret that felt bigger than their marriage. I was gay, and I had known it since I was 14. I had pushed it down, dated a girl once for cover, laughed at the right jokes in the locker room. Now the ground under me was cracking open. That first weekend at Dad's new apartment downtown Chicago felt like stepping into another life. The place was small, all glass and steel with views of the river. Nothing like our quiet suburban cul-de-sac. Dad tried to act normal. He ordered deep dish pizza and put on a Cubs game. But his new girlfriend Lisa kept checking her phone and laughing too loud at everything. "You're gonna love it here, Ethan," she said, ruffling my hair like I was 10. I smiled because that was what the version of me at Dad's house did. Easygoing, no drama, the guy who could roll with whatever. Back at Mom's the following week, the house felt both familiar and foreign. She had thrown herself into church activities even harder, signing us up for extra youth group sessions and family prayer nights. "God has a plan for our family, even now," she told me one evening while we folded laundry. I nodded and helped her sort socks, playing the role of the good Christian son who never questioned anything. When she asked if there was a special girl at school, I lied smoothly. "Not really, Mom. Focused on grades." The lie tasted like metal in my mouth. I learned quickly how to switch. At Mom's I was quiet, helpful, the straight-A student who volunteered at the food pantry and never stayed out late. I kept my room neat, my thoughts locked away. At Dad's I was louder, more sarcastic, joining his pickup basketball games with his work buddies and talking about girls the way they did. "That new barista is cute," I'd say, forcing a grin while my stomach twisted. Neither version was me. Both were shields. School became the only neutral ground. Lincoln High was a big public school where nobody knew the full story of my split life. That was where I met Jordan Reyes in the middle of junior year. We got paired for a literature project on The Great Gatsby. Jordan had transferred from the North Side. He had dark curly hair, warm brown eyes, and a confidence that made people listen when he spoke. During our first study session at the library, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world, man. Everything okay?" I shrugged. "Parents just got divorced. Living in 2 houses now. It's weird." He nodded like he got it. "Mine split when I was 12. Different cities, even. You end up becoming whoever they need you to be in each place." His honesty hit me harder than anything had in months. When our hands brushed reaching for the same book, electricity shot up my arm. I pulled back fast, but the feeling stayed with me the whole bus ride home to Mom's that night. Lying in bed later, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I had stuck on the ceiling when I was 12, I let myself think about Jordan's smile. For the first time, the secret didn't feel like pure shame. It felt like possibility. But possibility was dangerous in a life divided between a mother who quoted Bible verses about marriage and a father who still used words like, "That's so gay," when something annoyed him. I had no idea how long I could keep the masks from slipping. The weeks blurred. Mom started attending a new singles Bible study and encouraged me to stay strong in my faith. Dad got busier at his marketing job and let Lisa redecorate the apartment, turning my weekend room into something that felt less like mine. I bounced between them, perfecting the performance. At Mom's, I went to Sunday service and helped with the youth choir. At Dad's, I stayed up late watching movies and pretended to flirt with girls and stories I made up. The effort exhausted me, but it kept the peace. Then Jordan texted me one Friday night when I was at Dad's. "Hey, wanna grab coffee tomorrow? No project stuff, just talk." My heart hammered. I typed back yes before I could overthink it. That single word felt like the first crack in the walls I had built so carefully. Coffee turned into walks along the Chicago Riverwalk, then late-night texts that made me smile at my phone when no one was looking. Jordan was patient. He never pushed, but he saw me, the real me, in a way no one else did. "You don't have to perform around me," he said one afternoon as we sat on a bench watching boats go by. The sun was warm on our faces, and for a moment the two versions of Ethan felt far away. I told him pieces of the truth. How I switched personalities every Sunday like changing clothes. How Mom's house felt like a cage of expectations and Dad's like a stage where I played the cool son. Jordan listened without judgment. "I've been out since I was 15, he said quietly. "My mom cried for a week, but then she came to my first Pride parade. My dad still struggles, but he's trying. You deserve a place where you don't have to hide." His words lodged in my chest. That weekend at Mom's, I caught myself almost slipping. She asked why I seemed happier lately. I blamed it on school. The lie sat heavy while we prayed before dinner. Her hand on my shoulder as she thanked God for guiding our family through this trial. I felt like a fraud. At Dad's the next week, Jordan and I met up again, this time at a quiet cafe in Wicker Park. We talked for hours. When he reached across the table and squeezed my hand, I didn't pull away. It was the first time anyone had touched me with real affection, knowing who I was. My eyes stung. "I don't know how to do this," I whispered. "I don't have a safe place." "Then we'll make one," he said. "Even if it's just moments like this." Our first kiss happened 2 weeks later in the shadows of Millennium Park after a late movie. It was soft, tentative, full of the kind of hope I hadn't let myself feel in years. Jordan tasted like mint gum and possibility. For those few minutes, the noise in my head, the fear, the guilt, the constant switching, went quiet. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "You don't have to figure it all out tonight." But reality crashed back fast. That Sunday at Mom's, I sat through a sermon about resisting temptation and felt every word aimed at me. I avoided Jordan's texts until Monday, then apologized with a long voice note explaining I was scared. He understood. That understanding only made me fall harder. The double life grew more exhausting. At Mom's, I threw myself into track practice and church volunteering to stay busy. At Dad's, I joined an intramural basketball league and laughed at crude jokes in the locker room. Jordan became my secret anchor. We stole time between houses, quick lunches near school, study sessions that turned into whispered conversations about our dreams. He wanted to study graphic design in California. I wanted to get far away from Illinois and figure out who I was without performing. One night at Dad's, Lisa almost caught me on the phone with Jordan. I was laughing softly in my room when she knocked. "Talking to a girl?" she teased through the door. I lied and said yes. The guilt afterward kept me up until dawn. I realized I was building something real with Jordan, but it existed in the cracks between my two lives. And cracks eventually widen. Christmas break brought the first real test. Mom wanted me at her house for the full holiday because family traditions matter now more than ever. Dad argued for equal time. They fought over text while I sat in the middle, texting Jordan under the table about how trapped I felt. On Christmas Eve at Mom's, surrounded by relatives asking when I would bring home a nice girlfriend, I excused myself to the bathroom and cried quietly. Jordan sent a photo of himself holding a silly ornament with the caption, "Thinking of you." It was the only thing that got me through the night. By the time school started again in January, I was 18 and the weight of the secrets was crushing me. Jordan and I were officially together in every way that mattered, except the ways that counted in my two homes. I knew something had to give. I just didn't know it would break everything when it did. Spring brought longer days and deeper feelings. Jordan and I fell in love the way people do when they finally find someone who sees the parts they've hidden. We said it one rainy afternoon in his car after he picked me up from Mom's under the excuse of a group project. "I love you, Ethan," he said simply, wiping rain from my cheek. The words unlocked something in me. "I love you too," I whispered back. And for once it didn't feel like a risk, felt like truth. But love in secret is a fragile thing. Every stolen hour carried the fear of discovery. At Mom's I became even more careful, deleting texts, clearing browser history, making sure my face never betrayed the happiness blooming inside me. She noticed the change anyway. "You've been glowing lately," she said one morning over breakfast. "Is there someone?" I shook my head and changed the subject to college applications. Inside, the lie burned. Dad's house offered different dangers. He was dating Lisa more seriously now, and they hosted more friends. One Saturday night during a barbecue on the tiny balcony, one of Dad's buddies made a casual remark about the gays taking over the city. Dad chuckled along. I laughed too because that was what my dad house self did. But my stomach turned. Later in my room I texted Jordan, "I hate this version of me." He replied instantly, "You don't have to be that version forever." The pressure built from both sides. Mom started a campaign to get me more involved in church, introducing me to the daughter of her prayer group leader. "She's sweet, Ethan. You should at least talk to her." I went on one awkward coffee date to keep peace and spent the whole time thinking about Jordan's laugh. When I told him about it later, he didn't get jealous. He got sad for me. "You shouldn't have to do that," he said. His understanding made me love him more and hate my situation more. School became our sanctuary. We sat together at lunch when we could, fingers brushing under the table. After classes we walked the long way to the train, talking about everything. Our fears, our futures, the kind of life we wanted together. Jordan dreamed of art school in Los Angeles. I dreamed of somewhere far from Illinois where I wouldn't have to split myself anymore. "We'll get there," he promised. Together. But the cracks were widening. One weekend at Dad's, Lisa found a hoodie Jordan had left in my bag by accident. "Whose is this?" she asked, holding it up. It had his school's logo. I lied and said it belonged to a friend from track. She bought it, but the close call left me shaking. That night I almost told Dad everything. The words were on my tongue when he came in to say goodnight. "Proud of you, kid," he said, clapping my shoulder. "You're handling all this divorce stuff like a champ." The moment passed. I stayed silent. At Mom's the tension was quieter but sharper. She found me crying in my room one night after a fight with Jordan over how long I could keep hiding. She assumed it was about the divorce. "I know this has been hard on you," she said, sitting on the edge of my bed. "But God has a plan. You'll find a good Christian girl and build a family of your own." Her words felt like chains. I nodded because I didn't have the courage to break them yet. Jordan and I argued sometimes about the secrecy. "I want to meet your parents eventually," he said one evening as we sat by the lake. "Not as your tutor or your friend. As your boyfriend." I pulled away, frustrated and terrified. "You don't understand what it's like. If they find out, everything explodes." He looked hurt but didn't push. The next day he brought me flowers hidden in a grocery bag and apologized. "I just want you to have one place where you're whole." By late spring I was barely sleeping. The switching between personalities left me hollow. Track meets, church events, family dinners, all of it felt like acting in a play I never auditioned for. Jordan was the only real thing. When we kissed in hidden corners of the city, the world felt right for a few precious minutes. But I knew the bill for all those stolen moments was coming due. The first real fracture came in May. A classmate named Tyler, who had seen Jordan and me together more than once, started asking questions. "You and Reyes seem pretty tight," he said in the locker room after practice. "You guys like together?" I laughed it off and changed the subject, but the fear lodged in my throat. That night at Mom's I barely ate dinner. She noticed. "Everything okay at school?" I told her it was just stress about finals. "Jordan and I fought about it." "Maybe it's time to tell at least one of them," he said. "This is eating you alive." I snapped at him for the first time. "Easy for you to say. Your family is trying. Mine would lose their minds." He went quiet, and the silence hurt worse than yelling. We made up the next day with a long hug in his car, but the argument left a bruise. Then came the weekend that changed everything. I was at Dad's when Jordan surprised me by showing up near the apartment building. We took a quick walk, holding hands for a few blocks in the dusk. I felt alive. But when I got back upstairs, Lisa was waiting with a strange look. I saw you with that boy from the window. You two seemed close. My blood ran cold. I lied again, claiming he was just a friend helping with a project. She didn't push, but I could tell she didn't fully believe me. The next week at Mom's, Tyler apparently told someone who told someone else. Rumors started circulating. Mom came home from Bible study early one evening and found me on the phone with Jordan. My voice soft in a way it never was with anyone else. She didn't hear the words, but she heard the tone. "Who was that?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "Just a friend," I said. She let it go, but I caught her watching me more closely after that. The close calls piled up. I started making mistakes, leaving my phone unlocked, forgetting to log out of messages. Jordan noticed I was pulling away out of fear, and it hurt him. "I love you," he told me one night on a call when I was at Mom's, whispering so she wouldn't hear. "But I can't keep being your secret forever. It's killing both of us." His words echoed in my head for days. Then the betrayal came from an unexpected place. My cousin Rachel, who sometimes stayed at Mom's, saw a text notification from Jordan pop up on my screen while I was in the shower. She had always been nosy. She didn't say anything to me, but she told Mom, "Ethan has been acting strange and talking to some boy a lot." Mom didn't confront me right away. She waited, watched, and prayed. The tension in the house became unbearable. At Dad's the following weekend, Lisa finally said something to him. "I think Ethan might be seeing someone. A boy." Dad laughed it off at first. "He's 18. Probably just experimenting." But the seed was planted. That Sunday night when I returned to Mom's, she was waiting at the kitchen table with her Bible open. "We need to talk, Ethan." My heart stopped. The masks were slipping, and I had no idea how to catch them. Mom's voice was calm but trembling. "Your cousin mentioned you've been talking to a boy named Jordan. A lot, and not like a regular friend." She slid my phone across the table. I had left it charging, and the lock screen showed a message from him. "Miss you already. Love you." The words were there in plain sight. I froze. For a second I considered lying again, but the exhaustion of years of hiding crashed over me. "He's my boyfriend, Mom." The words came out quiet but clear. Her face crumpled. "Ethan, no, this isn't you. This is the divorce talking, or confusion, or..." She stopped, tears spilling. "We'll pray about this. God can heal anything." The conversation lasted hours. She cried, quoted scripture, begged me to see a counselor from church. I tried to explain that I had known since I was 14, that it wasn't a phase, that Jordan made me feel seen for the first time. She heard none of it. "Your father and I may be divorced, but we raised you right," she said. "This isn't right." I left for Dad's the next day carrying the weight of her disappointment. When I got there, Dad was waiting too. Lisa had told him everything. "Is it true?" he asked, arms crossed. "Are you gay?" The word sounded ugly in his mouth. I nodded. He paced the small living room. "I don't get it, Ethan. After everything we've been through, you couldn't just be normal?" The disappointment in his voice cut deeper than anger. The next weeks were a nightmare of confrontations. Mom called Dad. They argued over whose fault it was. Mom wanted me in conversion therapy. Dad wanted me to just not shove it in people's faces. Neither asked what I wanted. Jordan became the enemy in their eyes. Mom forbade me from seeing him. Dad made snide comments whenever my phone buzzed. I chose Jordan anyway. I snuck out, met him in secret, held him while we both cried about the mess. "I can't lose you," I told him one night in his car. "You're the only real thing I have." But the cost was enormous. Mom stopped speaking to me except to pray over me. Dad's apartment started to feel hostile. Lisa avoided me. The final explosion came when Rachel told the whole extended family. A family group chat blew up with messages from aunts and uncles offering prayers or condemnation. One uncle called me confused. Another suggested I was doing it for attention because of the divorce. I read the messages at Dad's and felt something inside me break. Jordan held me through it. "You don't owe them your happiness," he said. But I did owe them something, the version of me they had raised. The guilt was crushing. I started skipping school, fighting with both parents, pushing Jordan away and then pulling him back. One night I told him I might have to choose family. He looked devastated. If you choose them, choose the version of you they want, you'll lose yourself completely. The breaking point came when Mom gave me an ultimatum. End things with Jordan or move out when I turned 19 in a few months. Dad said he would support me financially only if I kept it private. I sat between two homes that no longer felt like home and realized I had nowhere left to hide. I moved out 2 weeks after my 19th birthday. Jordan helped me pack what little I could take from both houses: clothes, books, the few things that belonged to the real me. Mom cried as I left, begging me to stay and get right with God. Dad shook his head and wrote a check for first month's rent on a tiny studio near campus. But his hug was stiff. "Call when you're ready to be reasonable," he said. College started that fall. Jordan and I got a small place together near the University of Illinois, Chicago. For the first time, I woke up in the same bed every day as myself. No switching, no performing. The relief was immense, but the grief was bigger. Mom barely spoke to me. Dad sent occasional texts checking on grades but never asked about Jordan. Holidays became battlegrounds of awkward phone calls and canceled visits. Jordan's family welcomed me slowly. His mom hugged me the first time we met and said, "Any boy who makes my son this happy is family." It was the first time in years I felt truly accepted. But the hole where my own family used to be never fully closed. Therapy helped. I learned that the two personalities I had built weren't fake. They were survival tools. I also learned that survival isn't the same as living. Jordan taught me the rest. We argued sometimes about money and school stress, but we never hid from each other. Our love grew stronger in the open air. Years later, Mom and I have started tentative conversations. She still prays for me, but she also asks about my life now. Dad met Jordan once and managed a civil dinner, though the tension was thick. They haven't fully accepted it, and maybe they never will. But I have accepted myself. Looking back at the boy who sat at that kitchen table the day his parents announced their divorce, I see how the split didn't just divide the family. It forced me to confront who I was in the fragments. Every choice cost something. Hiding cost my peace. Truth cost pieces of my family. Was choosing to live openly as a gay man worth losing the version of family I grew up with? Or would staying hidden in two half-lives have been the greater tragedy? The answer still feels complicated, and maybe that's the point. Some truths don't come with easy right or wrong. They come with the lives we build around them.